Yes, everybody, we are back with another transfer shortlist. Transfers never sleep, and Manchester United are in dire need of reinforcement in at least a couple of areas on the pitch. None more so than the right wing spot. We've seen Dan James line up on there, we've seen Mason Greenwood line up on there, we've seen Jesse Lingard line up on there, we've even seen Dalot line up on there. What Manchester United really need is a number 7, someone who walks in and says, that's my spot, don't even fucking think about taking it. Someone that walks in is an undeniable first choice. Someone who can get the crowd on the feet. Someone who can do what Marcus is doing on the left wing, effectively on the right wing, giving United a balanced three-prong attack, 4 or more if you include what's going on just behind him with the likes of Bruno. But Manchester United haven't had a top-draw right winger for a very, very long time. And it's now time that we look at the options. Now, obviously, we're going to get into him, and he is the first on the list. Jadon Sancho is that option, and I think that he's the option of fans, he's the option of the club, and it's the option that we would all like to see over the line. Life ain't a party, and sometimes you don't get every single thing that you're hoping for. They could get an injury prior to making a medical. There could be exterior reasons which affect a transfer. So while, yes, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of Jadon Sancho, and it's very heavily focused towards Jadon Sancho, I'm going to give you another 4 options just in case we're unable to get Sancho over the line. But here we go. Here's the shortlist right wingers, Jadon Sancho edition. So what can we say about Jadon Sancho that you don't already know? I guess he's been linked with Manchester United for well in excess of a year now. There's been so much talk of him coming back to England. Initially, the incorrect talks were that he would always go back to Manchester City. The truth is, he isn't happy with how he left Manchester City, and he would very much favour a move elsewhere. I think the links with Chelsea are real. I think the option to go to Chelsea would be a strong one for Jadon, and if Chelsea were in a position where they could sign him, I think United and United fans would have to take into account the possibility that Chelsea would be a very real threat to taking him away from Manchester United. I think the Liverpool ones are real to the extent of that. I think that he would be a dangerous threat if they chose to start trying to replace some members of that front three already, and Salah being the one that I think is the most obvious to start replacing. If they replace Salah with someone like Jadon Sancho, that would be dangerous. That would be an absolute nightmare as a United fan on several fronts, a major one being that he's just that good, and he absolutely would transform what was going on at Liverpool and keep them probably competitive for a number of years. I think what Liverpool don't have going in their favour is that I think United would just offer far more wages, and the word on the street seems to be that, not a great thing, but the word on the street seems to be that Sancho's going where the money is. And unfortunately, Manchester United are a place where money does talk, and we do have loads of it, and he wouldn't completely decimate our wage structure if he came in on an outrageous wage that Liverpool couldn't touch. On the pitch then, he's got 17 goals and 19 assists in 36 games, which is a goal and an assist every single time he stepped out onto the pitch this season, which is fucking ridiculous, to be honest. I think the bottom half of the Bundesliga, you get a little bit more time on the ball. There's a lot more, it just seems like time on the ball, space. And that really suits a player like Jadon Sancho's ability and the sort of player that he is. And I think that he's taken full advantage of that, gone over there, built a real reputation that, although I don't think he would match like for like, much like I didn't think Bruno would match it like for like, I think you're still getting 75-80% of that over in the Premier League, where it is a little bit more intense and it is a little bit more cutthroat. I still think you're going to get a very high output from him. So even as a winger that was going to contribute, man, even if it was 15 goals, 15 assists, that's a phenomenal return. Over the course of a 40-50 game season, that's a phenomenal return. He's done that in 36 games there. If he returned that over a 50 game season, that would be outrageous. So I still think that even if he puts up just similar numbers, we're going to be fine. And if you've got him playing with Bruno, you've got him playing with Rashford, you've got him playing with Martial and Greenwood, those goals and those assists are going to come no matter what. Capable on both flanks, reportedly keen to return to England, liked Manchester when he was here in Manchester with Manchester City. let's just hope the ongoing economic crisis doesn't end this transfer, because everybody involved wants to make it happen. It's not an open goal, but it's a scoreable chance, shall we say. Next up on the list then is Adama Traore. Big fan of this kid. Don't believe him when he says he doesn't do weights. That's a lie. Or someone needs to test his piss, because that's frankly ridiculous. Doesn't produce anywhere near the numbers that Sancho does, but he could be the closest thing in terms of quality, in terms of just out and out, direct, running at people. Adama Traore has got that. Different in terms of the style of running. He's almost like a running back in terms of the build that he's got. Different output, different terms of quality, but he's playing at a different team in a different area. I think the pedigree is there in Adama Traore. He didn't have the output in terms of assists, and he doesn't have the output in terms of goals, but if you watch him closely, I don't think what he's doing is that bad. Certainly sometimes when you'd see people that are crossing constantly, and no one's getting on the back end of it, Trent does that. Trent's a proper volume merchant. Trent's just throwing stuff and hoping something sticks. Adama Traore is a little bit more accurate than that. I think a little bit more selective in his shots, and I think that he has a good output for a winger. He's just playing in a team that doesn't really suit that sort of style. I think in a fast counter-attacking team, I think you'd really see the benefits out of him. One of the criticism has been the tunnel vision that Adama seems to have, and a bit of a tendency to fail slowing down in the final third. But that composure, I think, would come with knowing that there's going to be other people around him that can pick pieces up. He came back into Nuno Espirito Santo's plans as a bit of a fearless right-back, really. He's got the ability to take on his man with ease before delivering in a killer ball. And that was just before he adjusted the system to 4-3-3 to start accommodating him a little bit further up the pitch, where he's been way more effective. He completed 145 dribbles this season, which is the most across Europe's top 5 leagues. So you've got a man that's beating his man at will. You fine-tune the delivery on the other end, and you get him used to playing in a certain sort of system, and you've got an absolute machine. Not only that, I think what you've got to take into account whenever we're talking about who's going to play on the right wing, you have to think about who's playing behind them on the right wing. Not many teams can have someone who can just be told to just go and attack at one end and not worry about what's happening defensively. United can do that because Wan-Bissaka, not the most useful in attack, certainly one of the most deadly in defence. Whether it was Sancho, whether it was Adama, you could almost not give them any defensive responsibilities apart from being a bit of a body at times, and they would go down the other end of the pitch and it would cause havoc. That's what you really want. Only De Bruyne and Sergio Aguero have accumulated more goal combinations than Adama and Jimenez this season. And if you fancy the Spaniard to link up just well with his pacey counterparts at Old Trafford. Number 3 on this list, I think there's been a couple of summers that we've been talking about him, to be honest with you, and that is Federico Chiesa. I like him. He doesn't fit the mould in terms of Sancho or Adama. I just like him. He came to my attention because of playing with him on Football Manager. Football Manager's a pretty good indicator of how good someone could potentially be. I remember a player that I saw ages ago when he was at Wolfsburg was Kevin De Bruyne, but he was played as an out-and-out winger, not someone that would play as an inside. Federico Chiesa came to my attention because of Football Manager, but then I have to go watch them, and I have to see, was the scouting accurate, or is it a glitch in the game? Sometimes you get a glitch in the game where someone is amazing. Pro Evo fans know all about Adriano, possibly because of that. Sometimes it's just like, it's not quite a true representation of what he is, but having gone and watched Federico Chiesa, numbers aren't great, but what he does on the pitch is great. It was probably only a year ago, Chiesa and Sancho could have been on the same trajectory, and while one's massively kicked on in Sancho with his goal contributions, Chiesa has continued to quietly develop into a really fine player at Fiorentina. Still only 22. Regularly operated as a split striker when Fiorentina play a 3-5-2 system, and occasionally drifts wide into the channel to pick the ball up before driving the defence. His natural position is as a right winger or a right forward, though. That's where you get the best out of him. Former Italy manager Cesar Prandelli claimed that Chiesa can become one of the best players in Europe if he was regularly played on the right wing. So that's something to take into account, I think, there. The versatility of Chiesa, I think, is helped by energy. He's got a lot of aggression about the way he plays, and he's got an eagerness to stretch defences with vertical runs. He drifts out. I just think he really would suit what Solskjaer's got going on in a 4-2-3-1 or even a 4-3-3. He'd probably also fit into a 4-4-2 diamond, or even potentially a free-to-back system, as we've seen with what they play at Fiorentina. So the flexibility and the tactical uses that you could use with him, and actually with Adama Traore as well, would be beneficial to United, because I think that Solskjaer is going to continue this frame of having one system and one style of play when he expects he's going to dominate possession, and maybe he wants to try and break this team down, and another one when he's happy to play on the counter and look to use our assets in the final third where we can go on and score some goals. I'd be very happy if Chiesa was one that United brought over the line, and I think he's probably gettable from somewhere like Fiorentina as well. Number 4 on the list then is Florian Thauvin, and albeit not a first choice target, definitely, he's more of an option for if you're looking for serious value for money, especially if a move for someone like Sancho breaks down because of money. Thauvin doesn't come across as a marquee name, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe he's more in the Dan James, Wan-Bissaka sort of mould where you know there's something going to develop with him. But he's been producing really impressive numbers at Marseille since he joined in 2015, and just one poor season at Newcastle might mean that you get him cheap. It might also be an indicator that maybe he wasn't ready when he went to Newcastle. He made just 2 League One appearances this season due to ankle surgery, but he scored at least 15 goals in the previous 3 campaigns and accumulated a total, which is ridiculous, which is 97 goal contributions in that time. Certainly someone that you can't dismissed very easily. His form at club level saw him play a part in the France 2018 World Cup triumph alongside Paul Pogba, and he's grown into one of the nation's top attacking stars. You're definitely going to be hearing more of him. He's definitely going to be moving to another club and a bigger club at some point in the near future. His deal with Marseille runs out next year. I think they could probably cash in on him. You could probably get him as a bargain, relatively cheap, and considering the numbers that he's been putting up in France, United could be inspired by the impact that you've seen like Mo Salah, and bring someone back to England for a second attempt, because we've seen a couple of players that were maybe not quite fancied. They've gone away, they've developed, they've learned, they've matured, they've come back and they've absolutely smashed it. Maybe Tauvin's one of those opportunities that we could bring back and we could really see something from him. We always like to throw in a bit of a random one then, so the last one that we're going to be throwing in the mixer on the right wing shortlist is Gabriel Veron. Not a name that generally excites a lot at United. Either of the names, actually. But that, honestly, this sounds like a Football Manager regen, doesn't it? But no, this is a real player. You've probably not heard of him too much, but it looks like probably the latest really exciting Brazilian talent off the conveyor belt of what they're building over there in Brazil. Considering Sancho being such a generational talent, that when you're looking for alternatives, you're having to look at someone that's older or emerging talents that are definitely going to be younger than him. He's only 17. He was named player of the tournament in the 2019 Under-17 World Cup as Brazil lifted the trophy, and he's widely considered to be the next big star coming out of Brazilian football. He continued his form at youth level into senior level, scoring twice and providing 1 goal in 70 minutes of football since he broke into the Palmeiras first team, and that gives him a goal contribution currently of every 23 minutes. He's two-footed like Mason Greenwood. He's capable of playing on either flank. He's short. He's stocky. Similar to a certain Brazilian icon in old R9. He complements that with a low centre of gravity, bags of pace, and he's just got some just mad physical attributes that sometimes you just get once in a generation. I think that those physical attributes that he's got probably line up very well with English football. Much like original Ronaldo. If we'd have got original Ronaldo in England, it wouldn't have mattered. Some players suit Spain, some suit Germany, some suit Italy. Some players play wherever the fuck they want. Like Ronaldo did, literally. Ronaldo, he's in Italy, killing it. He's in it. Well, relatively killing it. In Spain, yeah, he did all right, I guess, did he in Spain? Killed it in England. He's killed it everywhere he's been. He's killed it international. Sometimes they just do that, and one of those that can do that is definitely Gabriel Veron. I think he's got it. He loves to accelerate into space. He likes to change feet to get away from defenders. He can go left, he can go right, and he will provide a shot or he will provide a cross. He's pretty mixed up like that with what he's going to do when he gets to the byline, or is he going to come inside? Very much reminiscent of Mason Greenwood in that sort of sense. I could see both of these complementing each other really well. As much as he's a joy to watch with the ball at his feet, he gets 3.5 dribbles per game, which is very high. His work rate for the team is also something to behold. He gets possession through tackles and interceptions 5.8 times a game. Someone's going to pick him up. It will probably suit Jurgen Klopp's side very well. Someone's going to pick this kid up, and I would love it to be Manchester United. It's about time we had a proper South American hero, like what we should have had, and maybe what Veron should have been. And maybe it's Veron that can do it again after all. Certainly more of a star for the future. Wouldn't expect if he was bought that he would go straight into the starting 11, but he's a very, very exciting young talent, and someone is going to pick him up. You're going to be hearing about this kid in the future. I'd love it to be at Old Trafford. That's my 5. Let me know in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Is there some that I've obviously missed? Didn't talk about Mason Greenwood. That's because I see him as a number 9 in the Manchester United side going forward, not a right winger. But there's my right wingers. Let me know yours in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Give us your options, your favourites, all that stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Laters.